What is up YouTube? Welcome back to another CZN video. We just had the live stream reveal what 9 does and what her partner also will do. And let me say, not only does this character look extremely badass, but she looks like she could be doing a ton of damage, which is absolutely great for the game. So this is actually going to be what her base kit is. They also showed all the epiphanies, so I'll show you guys that in a second, but essentially, she's a Vanguard, an Order Vanguard, and she's going to scale with defense. Her basic attacks will also increase the damage of her exhaust cards, and you're going to see with her kit, you probably don't want to remove these even though they're starting cards, because it's going to synergize extremely well with her kit. She also has that basic shield. Most likely you're going to remove her because she looks like to be a damage dealer. Not really a shielder, although you could probably build her that way. Her damage looks amazing. Then we have Hue. This is going to be her main skill. It's going to do single target damage, or you can epiphany it to do AoE, and it has this effect where you can incinerate to create another Hue. So essentially what this means is every time you use this card, it's going to level up and do even more damage, which is going to end up being insane, as you'll see later on. Experience Strike down here, it's going to just be regular attack, increases damage of exhaust cards. You'll notice that Hue is an exhaust card, so you're going to be using this to buff your Hue, and also Slash is going to be very good to buff your Hue as well. And then Fatal Strike. This is going to be another attack that's going to increase damage amount for each cost of the highest exhaust card in your hand, and then you'll exhaust that card. And then you have Counterblade. So Counterblade is an upgrade. You'll see that when a shield is gained through an ability, you'll gain 1 Honed Edge. Honed Edge is basically going to be this defense-based damage buff to your cards for 1 turn. It stacks up to 3 times, which is very good. But essentially, you're going to see that it doesn't matter because the epiphany for this card, which you'll see later, is going to be absolutely insane that you're going to want to pick up for her playstyle. Then we have Fighting Spirit. This is going to activate 1 highest cost attack card of this unit, and then you can exhaust that card. And it's going to be Hue at the end of the day. And even if you exhaust this card, you're going to create another one. So it doesn't really matter. It's a cheap way to use a 3-cost card here. So let's actually look at her epiphanies. Let's start off with Hue. This is her main bread and butter card, it looks like. And you're going to see that there's 5 different options, all with different parenthesized names. The first one will give you a shield. Maybe will be good, but I think most people won't really care. The second one, it does actually less damage here. You'll see it's 360% instead of 480, but you're going to see that it might be very strong. And in the middle here, we have Hue Flash. It does the same exact damage as Ironclad, right, on the left here, the first epiphany. And you're probably wondering, why would you ever pick this, right? The thing is, you lose the shield, but you gain this Ignition text. And Ignition is basically whenever you exhaust a card, the cost of this goes down by 1. So you can make this very cheap, and that's kind of the price you pay for losing the shield. And then you have Hue Massacre. I know it's super small. I couldn't make it big enough without destroying the resolution. It's an AoE attack for 80%, and the damage will go down by 10% for each target. And then the one on the right, so it's 40-80% again, and then on ally counterattack, this will activate automatically. Now, you'll notice that with the creation, it keeps leveling up. The damage is just going to scale up. That's basically what it does. Now, the one I want to look at most importantly, which I think most people are going to go for, is the second one. Even though it looks like the worst one, just looking at this, if you look at the creations, the scaling on this one is insane. It goes up to 1,200%. The other ones don't go nearly this high, and that's because this one is a pure single target attack. 1,200 is insane damage, right? Even if it's defense based, this is going to hit super hard, especially if you can find ways to buff this card, which you'll see is going to be possible. And you'll notice at level 5, it's only 2 cost. So it's a pretty cheap way to do it. And once you use it, you'll start over the cycle again. So basically, instead of this like retain mechanic, you're basically just like cycling into the levels and I guess getting to level 5, buffing it and doing a ton of damage, which is very cool. Next card, we have Experienced Strike, right? This was the attack that just gave you that shield. So there's a lot of effects here. The first one is increasing damage of exhaust cards by 30%. If you pair this with Serennial, for example, this is gonna go dummy and do a ton of damage. You have another one where if a card is exhausted, the Experienced Strike will do more damage. I don't think most people will pick it. The third one will give you extra shield gain for skill cards. Will you pick it? Maybe if we need a lot of shields. The fourth one will give you damage for each exhaust card in hand. So not buffing your exhaust cards, but this attack will get more damage for each, what's it called, exhaust card that you have in your hand, which is pretty good. And then the last one is going to be whenever an exhaust card is activated, you get counterattack, right? So pretty good options. I think most people will go for the first one, or maybe the fourth one if you want a hard-hitting skill, but it looks like she's definitely going to be like a damage dealer. So then we have that Fatal Strike. This one is going to be pretty insane. Right away, if you look at the middle one, you can change Hue in hand to its final level. Of course, it costs 5. You do have ways to reduce the costs of your cards. The other ones also look pretty good. The first one will have increased damage for each cost of the highest cost exhaust card in hand. Then you'll exhaust that card. So I don't know if you'll want to do it because you'll end up exhausting one of your cards. So I don't really know if that's a good one. We'll have to see. The second one is going to get increased damage for each cost of the highest card in hand. And then you'll also see the fourth one, the skill one, will exhaust 2 random exhaust cards of other combatants. So for example, like I said, Serenial. And you'll increase damage of the next used attack card of this unit. So you're going to chain this into the level 5 1200% damage Hue. It's going to hit super hard. And then the last one, it's going to be for counterattackers, right? You're going to do more damage based on the amount of allies you have with counterattacks, so like Magna and stuff like that. So, and even with like, I think Iron Wall also gets a counterattack epiphany. So you can actually make a lot of counterattack teams, which I'm very excited about. And now we have Counterblade. So I said the original card, it's whatever, because honestly, Honed Edge giving you extra damage is pretty cool. You can also get shield gain. Also the middle one here, you'll get Honed Edge whenever you gain a shield, so you can actually run a shield comp and run her as your main damage dealer that way, which is going to be a very cool thing to try. Then the last one is whenever you gain counterattack, you get Honed Edge Plus, which will be, I think it's a better version of Honed Edge. And then the last epiphany here, which is the one I think is the best one. This is an upgrade. At the start of your turn, you just activate Hue in your hand. So if you're worried about Hue costing a lot, right, it's like 3 of your points to use, well, you can just use this upgrade and it's going to activate automatically. So you just have to keep cycling. So I think this one is by far the best one. It's unique, so you can't replicate it. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense to do it, but I think this one is going to be insane. You can kind of see right away that you can just run a full Hue setup, right? You take, for example, something like the fourth one here to buff your Hue. You can take the, where is it here? The first one here to buff your Hue as well. You can buff your exhaust cards, and you take Hue Extreme to do 1200 damage. And of course, you can upgrade it very quickly with something like Counterblade 5th Epiphany. Of course, this does take time to ramp up, so maybe this season will have to do with the longer fights. We'll have to see, but if it does, you can see this character get a ton of value. Now, this is her last card. This one can't get an Epiphany. You'll see it activates 1 highest cost attack card of this unit in hand. Then you exhaust it. Of course, Hue, when you exhaust it, doesn't matter because it creates. So you can use this as well to cycle through your Hues even faster. So, for example, if you have this Counterblade 5th Epiphany and you use it, and Hue activates in your hand, if you have Fighting Spirit in your hand, well, you can use it again and then use another Hue. So a ton of damage coming out. And then this is her Ego skill. It's an AoE attack, extra damage for each point of the combined cost of the 2 highest cost cards, and you'll end up exhausting them. So that is what her Ego skill is. It's going to do a decent amount of AoE damage. Then we look at her potentials. So the first one just gives her extra damage to Slash, and we'll give her that increased damage amount of exhaust cards. So you definitely want this to buff your Hue, if you're running the Hue build, of course. And then, of course, you have this one, which will give you extra damage to your Slash as well, your basic card. And then you get extra modifiers if your defense is higher than 250. Nothing too crazy, it's not your main attack skill. And then you have the unique stat upgrade. So this can actually give you 15% damage. All you really need is more than 300 defense to get this 5%. And then for every 10 above 300, you gain an additional 2%. So 350 defense is what you're aiming for to get the maximum damage upgrades. So now let's get into her Manifest Egos. So the first one is you can select targets to attack with Fighting Spirit. So I believe what this means is you can select a target with this, and then whatever card you activate, it'll choose the target. And without it, what ends up happening is it's random. So pretty important, I'd say, unless you're fighting a single target boss. If any boss has ads and you launch your Hue into the wrong target, it's going to feel pretty bad. So that seems like it's something that you want. The second one, at the start of battle, you create this exploit opening card. And what it does is it has exhaust 2 and you retain it. You can also retrieve it. And what it does is you apply vulnerable and tenacity damage. So you can basically hold this until you have that max combo damage rotation with Hugh, and then you put this first, you put vulnerable up, and you do a ton of damage. So this is a pretty good one. It's going to make you burst very hard, allow you to one-shot, so I think it's a very powerful one to have. The third one just buffs your ego skill, just makes it do more damage, so nothing too crazy, right? It's a 6-cost ego skill, so whether or not it's worth it until you get this, it's hard to say, but we'll have to see what the damage looks like. Now, the fourth one here, this one is really insane in my opinion. So you're going to see whenever you exhaust a card, you'll gain improvisation equal to the cost of that card. So if you ever do a double Hugh combo, like we talked about, what you do is you use the first one, right? At like level 4, for example, in the best case scenario, you get improvisation and then you use this. This gives you extra damage to your attack cards. You can stack it 3 times, and Hugh, you know, fortunately for us, costs 3. And then you could do even more damage. I think this character is literally gonna one-shot stuff, especially at E4. This one looks insanely strong, unless I'm like reading this wrong. But you just exhaust your Hugh at level 4, you get 3 of these, you use 3 of them, and then you nuke. So that sounds absolutely crazy. And it can activate automatically, right? Because you have that one upgrade that can use your highest attack card. So this looks insane. I think E4 is pretty crazy. Then E5 I skipped over because, yeah, it's just the basic potential upgrades. And then the last one, right, whenever you use Hugh, you do extra 15% damage as fixed damage. So it's going to ignore armor and stuff like that, right? So in defense. So this is going to hit very, very hard. Yeah, her potentials, not her potentials, well, her potentials as well, but her ego, her manifest egos look absolutely insane. And then we have her partner here. So Alcia, it's going to increase defense whenever you exhaust a card that you're using this partner on. The next card that you use, the attack card, does extra damage. And whenever a 2-cost or higher card is exhausted, you gain a shield. So this just makes you do way more damage and shield more. And then the ego skill is going to do defense-based single target damage, and you put 5 caustic remarks, which is a debuff which will make them take 20% more damage or 30% if you have a shield. And because you're exhausting cards, you're going to be having the shield from this partner already. So you don't need an outside source of shields because the partner grants it. This one looks absolutely crazy on her as well. And I think they're going to make the 5-star partners like really strong because a lot of people are just using 4 and 3-star ones, right? So this one looks absolutely crazy with how you want to play her if you're trying to like one-shot, right? So that is her partner. And yeah, this is her lobby. Looks pretty good. I'm pretty excited about this one. So I think this character looks absolutely insanely fun. I don't know if she'll be insanely strong. We'll have to see how she does, but come on. Like, you're doing 1,200% damage and you have so many buffs to it in her kit, right? Like, pretty much every single card that you can epiphany can buff her Hugh or just make it level up like extremely fast, right? Which is insanely important. On top of this, these are the 2 new equipments, or I guess not 2 new, but 2 of some of the new equipments that were previewed for this season. And you're gonna see it's literally meant for her to just completely nuke. You have this Veiled Thorn, which is gonna make her do 50% more damage if she did not receive damage for 1 turn. And because she is going to be shielding with her partner, and you may as well just bring something in her kit to help her shield, maybe like 1 card, well, you can see where this is going. 50% damage on your next Hugh, right? Actually, it's just 50% on everything for that next turn. That's pretty insane. You do have to shield your entire team though, so keep that in mind. It's not just for yourself, because no allies can receive damage, but I think honestly it's pretty easy to make this work. And then the armor is also insane. So when a shield is gained, you'll increase damage amount of the next attack card by 20%. You could do this twice per turn. So 70% extra damage on your Hugh just from the equipments that you can get in Chaos. And this is going to be her best in slot most likely, unless there's like some other interactions that people find. And to top it all off, of course, there has to be a mythic accessory that you're going to want on her as well. So you're probably going to want all 3 of these. This is going to reduce the cost of 1 random exhaust card in her hand by 1 for 1 turn. So reducing the cost of Hugh even more. So it really looks like the equipments, at least for the first part of the season, are definitely designed to just make her a powerhouse damage dealer, even though she's a Vanguard. So I guess they're redesigning the philosophy around the Vanguard class. But let me know what you guys think about her down below. I'm definitely pulling for her. She looks absolutely amazing. And I'll see you guys next video.